Hello everyone, welcome along to this video. Well, I said I'd do a weekly update video if there was enough to make one, and there probably is. So here we go. Let's discuss a few things. So the first thing, as you may have seen, Eurofly 3 will be coming out on the 20th of January. The daily tutorials have been going on. The mailing list, as always, has been going wacko. But generally, it's kind of expected when you put something like this out there, But I appreciate the people who are more sensible on there. But yeah, it's looking interesting. There were some small changes from the previous video that I made. I was glad to see the flap system got a change. So one of the things that really, seemed confusing was the flaps could go up and down. So you could retract them into the aircraft essentially, as well as extend them, which didn't make a lot of sense. So I kind of had to think about that, and I thought maybe what they're trying to simulate is spoilers. If they're looking at kind of panels popping up on the wing. So the flaps hopefully will now be the correct way, where you can extend and retract them. If you can't retract flaps past 0, you'd be retracting them to minus, minus position -1, -2, or whatever. That wouldn't make any sense. But you can also use spoilers, which will affect the lift of the aircraft. There's the more things that can be done with that. So the whole idea that spoilers, if they're armed in real aircraft, will auto deploy often on touchdown. Maybe that could be implemented, but certainly the fact that spoilers are now there is another little positive. So yeah, keep an eye out for that on the 20th. Look, don't expect to see a lot of content on this channel about it. Like I've said, when I get a minute here, because I'm rather busy, I will give it a go. I've already put it this way. I've already given it a go because there was a closed beta available. To make sure that the public beta is prepared. But in terms of actually streaming it, and that kind of thing, I don't think that's appropriate. But when the open beta is available, then I will try and do some content with it, but don't expect it to happen a lot, because of the fact that it's just not my primary focus anymore. It's a really good project, and I'm really thankful that it's there, and it's come a long way actually, but it's still it's not Microsoft. It's not trying to be either. Yeah, we'll see what we can do and give it a go. But definitely, if you're interested in Eurofly 2, or you're just curious, then it might be worth giving it a quick download. You do have to go through the training and start out doing that with the smaller aircraft. Let's move on then to First Officer version 5. So as per previous discussion, it actually finally got released. It got somewhat delayed from when we expected it was going to get released, but it got released earlier on this week, and it's functional to an extent. It does the job. It hasn't been particularly well received. It's gotten better already. So some of the buttons, your pause, your connect, those kind of buttons were initially not labeled. They are now labeled, and there are things that are interesting about it. So there are now button systems for the included pushback and things like that. The UI has been changed around quite significantly, and the First Officer developer really likes it. A lot of people have kind of said they don't particularly like it. It doesn't seem as though the labeling of any of the performance dialogue has been fixed. there are some random features you've got to be aware of as well. Like, there's this automatic approach mode feature that will turn that on as soon as your glide slope comes alive. The glide slope needles will come alive particularly early on a lot of approaches. That doesn't mean you're going to arm approach mode, so you've got to be aware of that. It also doesn't have the career stuff in, just so that you're aware of that. He also changed the voice to, the co-pilot voice to, a different voice that a lot of people don't particularly like. I'm not really sure why he did that. It's not great. But, I mean, the thing with this version is we kind of have to look at it for workarounds where we can and make use of it where we can, because it's probably going to be the standard for the 777. I wouldn't expect that the older version, despite the fact you can keep the older version installed, it's a different directory, so you can keep it and you can have the PMDG registered on both. That's what I have right now, but I don't expect it'll have compatibility, the older version, with the PMDG triple when that comes out, and we are going to need it for that. So it's good that this new version is pretty much working with a bit of tweaking. The flow editor is probably the biggest change. So you can go in and edit flows. It's kind of in a grid format. It's a little bit awkward. It's probably not the most user-friendly thing. There's also text files for a lot of the flows. So if you have people who've made flows, or maybe we can even upload some flows to BVI, if you want it to act in a different way, for example, people have found, loading in the fuel and the payload from SimBrief, then you have to make changes to the flows. I personally don't really care about all the FMC stuff. I do the FMC myself, so I'm not too interested in whether First Officer is going to program that. And I know some people have had issues with it programming it, indeed, programming in completely the wrong airports and things that are not even related to the flight that they've just generated. So it doesn't seem flawless, but yeah. So you can now, if you really want to, go to this flow editor and set up things in an ascending order, in the way that you want, kind of reordering the different actions, and get it to perform certain flows as per an SOP or whatever you want. So, do I think it's a great update? Not particularly. I'm not enthused by it, to be honest with you. I don't really buy the hype around it. I don't really see that there's much that it can do for me that I'm particularly interested in. The flow thing is probably the most interesting thing. Am I going to sit here for hours creating custom flows for virtual airlines or something? No. So again, do I particularly care? Not really. But it's there, and it's probably a good idea to explore it a little bit so that we're prepared for the 777. TFM is now going to start releasing previews when they get around a technical issue on a more frequent basis. So, apparently it's now been found, not to my surprise, to be brutally honest with you, that people can't be bothered to go and build source builds of their own. So they are now going to go back to releasing more frequent previews, which I think is very much positive in my opinion. And again, with the caveat that things may be broken, these are previews, but you should be able to go and grab them. So there's that. They are just getting out a technical issue. Hopefully we'll do a podcast when a bit more progress has been made on that. Related to TFM, there was some concern about the fall survey. So the uptake on the fall survey was significantly down. And, there were some suggestions about why, from the fact that you had to sign in with the Google account, or, whatever. Did that put people off? Was it the fact that so much from the 2022 fall survey didn't get carried out that some people felt like there was no point really filling this one out? Was it the fact that there was more hype around simming in general in 2022, maybe because of the PMDG and Microsoft, and it was the first time we were on Microsoft? Well, who knows? Probably a combination of all these factors. But whatever the case, it was significantly down, so there is some talk about whether they might put out more frequent surveys to gauge interest at different points in the year. There was a mini sort of survey or poll, if you like, that was put out to ask about the previews, as to whether people wanted more previews rather than purely source build, and that seems to have been a success. So that was a positive. So we'll keep you up to date on what happens with that, and when you can go ahead and grab these more frequent preview builds. Other than that, I think that's about it. So I wish you a very happy week. I hope those of you who are looking forward to Eurofly 3, I hope you really enjoy the weekend. Just bear in mind there is quite a lot different. I don't expect it to be a piece of cake for people to transition. So don't get too frustrated, and just enjoy the ride. That's all I can really say. All right, have a good one. See you in the next video.